Southport has a visit from three of Canada's newest additions to the Air Force. 3 Chinook helicopters arrived yesterday, and Lieutenant Colonel Chris McKenna was one of the pilots. McKenna notes they're en route to Alberta, and it's nice to visit Southport again where he got his wings.
Well, we're just transiting actually on the way to Wainwright, Alberta. A couple thousand soldiers all told, and a whole bunch of Air Force assets out there. It'll be a heck of a show, I think. So we're bringing 3 aircraft, and I have a whole bunch of ground equipment that's already moved out to Wainwright, and we'll be supporting the Army for about 6 weeks out there, doing air assault, logistic resupply, everything left and right of arc for a Chinook to support the Army.
He describes the dual-prop aircraft.
So these are brand new. So Canada bought 15 of these, and we have them in a facility in Petawawa, Ontario, in the Ottawa Valley near Ottawa. It's a massive facility. These all have indoor homes at night, so it's a 53,000 square meter facility that we have our own schoolhouse to train pilots and flight engineers and door gunners and loadmasters on the aircraft, and as well as a technical school for the technicians. And we have 4 flights of aircrew there as well. So we're just starting to generate all these guys and train them all up. So I have about 10 crews right now who are qualified. And like I said, these 3 are going to be working out here for the next month and a half or so. There's a small jet engine in the back. That's our EPU. We start that. And then it powers a hydraulic pump. And that pump is what you start the engines with. So it's a neat design. Okay, so we have 24 guys with us for this detachment on the way out there. So there's 8 guys per aircraft. 2 pilots, 1 flight engineer, 1 loadmaster, and a door gunner is the crew. And then there's 3 technicians we brought with us per bird. The max loading though would be 33 passengers. So you're looking at 32 back here, and then this little seat pops up. It's a jump seat. We can put the 33rd right there. But in Afghanistan, we were doing air assault stuff. We would do extra 10 guys down the middle, just because they wanted to get in and get as many guys as we could on the ground. So up to 42. And we took a U.S. Army, what they call a Foxtrot model Chinook, and there's 30 modifications that Canada did to it. They're small. Some of them are very small. Some of them are large. If you look at the aircraft, it's got wide fuel tanks, and so our range is double what a normal Chinook would be in the U.S. Army. So we have about 14,000 pounds of gas. And that gives us about a 6-hour endurance, 5.5 to 6-hour endurance, which is a lot for a helicopter. It allows us to do, in Canada for domestic response, we can get somewhere fast and far into Canada's Arctic. We've already had 2 aircraft up to alert and back this fall. So the range is the big difference that we have we've purchased. And then there's some sort of Canadian specific stuff like the ramp, and normally it just falls by gravity, but we have a power down ramp to push through snow, so the troops don't end up having to climb up a hill to get out the back. Stuff like that, but it's a very, very capable machine. The other thing you'll notice is the ball on the very nose. That's an electro-optical sensor, so it's a daylight TV camera, low-light TV camera, and infrared camera, and all that's displayed in our cockpit. So it's all glass cockpit, and we can have that image in the cockpit, which is fantastic for like low illumination transits. I flew in Afghanistan on the older models of the Chinook, and we had an issue with very, very dark nights and mountains, and so your NVGs your night vision goggles don't work that well. And that is an infrared picture that gives you a perfectly good, or a thermal picture, perfectly good. So the empty weight would be around 29,000 pounds. And then when we're in the configuration we landed in today, we're about 44,000. The max I can go to is 54,000 pounds in this aircraft, it's a workhorse. Like, if you look at the bottom, you'll see there's 3 hooks on them. So we can do lots of slinging. That's really what the Chinook is good at. And so I've done a 17,000 pound load underneath. That's the most we've done so far. But the hooks are rated to 20 or 28,000 pounds. Yeah, so they're very more capable than the aircraft is. Like I said, I trained in '97 here on the Slingsby at the time, a small little fixed-wing airplane, and I came back in 2002, I think, was on the Jet Ranger, and got my wings here. So it's kind of neat to come back. And actually, all my pilots did, right? We've all trained here. So this is all sort of home for us, and we've been sort of wanting to come back here to bring a Chinook here for the students to see, for one, because this is where all the guys are coming. I mean, I get a new student every couple months coming to my squadron who graduates from here. So it's and we want to show them some of the capability that they're going to be working on when they get to the squadron. So it's a nice social event too. Like, I know Scott from before, so it'll be nice to sort of have a social night with them tonight. It's good. Wind is not a big deal for us. We have start limits so that the blades don't flap down and hit the tunnel. That's the one. So yeah, there's 5 big gearboxes on there. So each engine drives a gearbox, which goes to a combining gearbox, and it goes to the forward and aft transmission by a series of drive shafts that go along the middle of the aircraft. So the rotors are synchronized to intermesh, and it's a very interesting aerodynamic explanation of how it all works. But it is. It's what makes it so good at hot and high altitudes. We don't have that tail rotor to worry about, where they're always worried about where the wind's coming from. For us, it's a consideration, but it's not nearly the same as like a Griffin or a Jet Ranger would. Yeah. The actual aircraft certified to 20,000 feet, which is unusual for a helicopter, but we're capped at 10 because we don't have oxygen. So we're working on oxygen. There is a kit you can put on the aircraft that would allow us to go higher to do, say, like parachute stuff or go into the high Rockies.
So they'd be able to go higher than most.
Yeah, so the big strength of these, especially in a theater of operation like Afghanistan, where we were at in Kandahar, we were at about 3,500 feet above sea level to start with, and you get up into these 10 or 12,000 foot mountains. Its performance degrades in a helicopter at higher altitude, so we have much less degradation and able to work at those higher altitudes as a result of the way the Chinook is designed. The first one was built in the late 50s, and the design is pretty much unchanged. Like, our cockpit is completely new; it's all glass. But the actual mechanics of the airplane really are not that different than they were in the 50s, which is kind of neat. It's a really enduring design.
For Portage Online News, I'm Mike Bloom.